Palworld's Grand Release tournament is happening all around the world up until the end of August. I wanted to go over some of the tips and tricks that I used in my tournament so that you have the best chances of winning when you join yours. If you're wondering, I did win. So I got this sick Lily X Lylene rubber playmat for going undefeated. I also got these nice looking promo soul cards. They might be a little hard to see in the camera because it's going to be blurry. And I also got that awesome champion flare on the Bushinavi. Pretty decent at the game, I think. When you head to your LGS and you're ready to participate in the tournament, the owner is going to ask you which of the two decks you want to use, either red or blue or green and purple. You can choose whatever you want. Of course, I chose the red and blue deck for my tournament, so most of the information here is going to be revolving around strategies for that deck. When you grab your deck out of the box, the first thing you'll notice is that the cards are paired together with their copies. Obviously, you don't want your deck to look like this when it's time to play, so I suggest doing what's called a pile shuffling, which is just separating your deck into 5 stacks of 10 for 50 cards. This helps you break up those clumps and kind of randomize the deck a little bit. Once you've got your stacks, combine those stacks back into a deck and then perform a regular shuffle afterward, because pile shuffling is not considered to be a tournament legal way to randomize your deck. Now you're ready to play the game. This is a Swiss tournament. Every round is 30 minutes. After those 30 minutes ends, if you're still in game, both of those players will lose that game, which is very important because one loss in this tournament means that you're pretty much disqualified from getting that playmat. You have to be undefeated. A very strong suggestion from me is to play at a nice steady pace. Don't play too fast because you don't want to make mistakes, but steady pace wins the race, as they say. The neat thing about this tournament is that everyone's deck is essentially public knowledge. Everyone's playing the same stuff. This is what the red and blue deck looks like in its entirety. This is what the green and purple deck looks like in its entirety. The name of the game here, the way that you're going to claim victory, is just by mastering your matchup with itself and the opposite deck. Let's jump into some of the gameplay tips. At the beginning of every game, you have to decide who's going first or second randomly. My subjective opinion, going second in these trial deck tournaments is going to be a lot more beneficial. Why? Because you get that extra card and you also get that extra soul. And there's not many cards among both of the trial decks that lets you draw more cards. So getting that extra resource, I think straight out of the gate, crucial for that end game scenario. Now, of course, this isn't something that you can decide. Your opponent could win the die roll, but if you can choose, if you do get that chance to choose, my subjective opinion is that you want to go second. Certain cards that you can have in your opening hand among the cards in the red and blue deck that you just want to keep in your hand because they're just so good no matter who you're faced against. The first of those cards is the Stone Pit. This is one of the best ways to continuously draw cards throughout the rest of the game. It's a one-cost card, but it doesn't mean that you want to play it immediately. You want to play it once you have a pal that can assign to it immediately. So if you're going second, you have Stone Pit in your hand and you have like a 2-drop in your hand that you can just play immediately and assign to it, draw a card, get 3 material. You're already ahead of the game. Second card I think is really good when you're going second, you want to keep it in your hand, is either Kelpsy Ignis or Pangolin. If your opponent went first and they played a 2-cost like Jolthog and they swung at your base dealing some damage, you can now play your Kelpsy Ignis or your Pangolin, attack that pal that just attacked you, and get it out of the board efficiently while keeping yours. The reason this is such a strong play is because on your opponent's next turn, they can't really do that back to you. They can't play a pal that is 4 soul cost that can hit your Pangolin or your Kelpsy Ignis because they don't have it. If you look at the red and blue deck, the 4 cost is Fox Parks, single shot rifle, which they can of course use that on your pal, but that's kind of a waste, so they probably won't do that. Hang You Christ, which can deal with your pal because it's 600, but again, if they resort to using that to take out your 3 costs, you're still on good terms. In the green and purple deck, they have Cognito at 4. They have Dinosom at 4. Neither of them can take out your pal. No matter how they choose to answer, playing your 3-cost pal, Pangolin or Kelpsy Ignis to take care of their starting 2 costs, it's a huge tempo swing that you kind of want to do every single game. The only time this doesn't work is if your opponent's playing green and purple and their 2 cost happens to be Cativa, because Cativa can't be attacked by anything that's 3 costs or less. The next card that you want to see in your hand or your opening hand going second is either of the interrupt cards, Fox Parks or Raindrix. There are only a total of 4 interrupt pals in both of the structured decks. You've got 2 Raindrix and 2 Fox Parks, and so having them in your hand is going to be monumental. For anyone that has played this game already, whether it be in online or in person, you understand just how impactful interrupt cards are. Having even 1 in your hand when your opponent gets 0, it probably decides the game right there. If you have any of these 3 cards in your opening hand as red and blue, no matter which opponent you're going up against, you probably want to keep them in your hand. If you have more than 1, you're probably going to win the game. I want to jump into some more match specific cards you want to keep in your hand, because there are certain cards your opponent can play against you that are going to give you a huge problem unless you have the counter to the situation. Let's talk red and blue versus red and blue. So if you get a Grisbolt played against you, or a Blazamut played against you, or a Memorous Crist, the only way to really take care of those pals in one card is with Mossanda Lux. Mossanda Lux, if you have 4 pieces of material, you spend those 4 to make him a 2100 power pal, and he can attack into all of those big guys and take them out while keeping himself alive. So if you're playing against the red and blue deck, it might be really important to keep Mossanda Lux in your opening hand so that you can counter your opponent if they play these big pals against you. Memorous Crist. Nothing in the red and blue decks that can really handle this guy with just itself, with just 1 card, outside of Mossanda Lux, which you have to kind of gather materials for in order to get that big. Memorous Crist is a 1700 pal out of the gate, and it gets stronger depending on your structure. So it's not uncommon to see this card dropped and it's like 2100 or 2300 power. Dropping this on a red and blue player is kind of like dynamite. It's really strong. It's a really powerful threat that you have to somehow answer, but you're not going to do it with just 1 card. You got to swing a bunch of little guys into it. Anything that can survive your single shot rifle is going to be a huge problem for the red and blue deck. So you want to come prepared to use that disadvantage against them while also not being at the mercy of that disadvantage yourself. Here we have a simulation of an opening hand in the red and blue deck. This is a very solid opening hand. I would definitely suggest keeping this if you're going second against a red and blue player. Now let's see what happens when we mulligan this. Okay, not the worst. You got Mossanda, you got Memorous, so you've got some really powerful threats to be anti-red and blue. We're going second, so remember, we get to draw a card. Let's see what our next card would be. It's a Kelpie Ignis. So you just top deck the perfect card you want to have on your first turn going second, and you're probably going to win the game. Let's try that again. New hand. Okay, you got your interrupt pal, Fox Parks. That's good to have. Let's draw the next card here. Land Ball, that's pretty decent, I guess. Try one more. All right, you got your Mossanda and you've got your Pangullet, and then you're going to draw a card as well because you're going second, and it is a interrupt pal. You've got a pretty good starting hand. Memorous Crist is really good against the red and blue deck, but not so good against the green and purple deck. And the reason is they have removal in the forms of Hanging Trap to just exile Memorous Crist, and they have Strikes from the Darkness, which just sends any pal to the graveyard for 4 costs. So playing Memorous on green and purple, it seems like a bad time. What I would recommend is Single Shot Rifle. This is also a match specific card to keep in your hand, but it's really good against handling certain threats that the green and purple deck propose, which is Bronze Cherry. 1500 taunt pal, which could be problematic for anything that's not your biggest pals in the red and blue deck. Single Shot Rifle takes care of it in 1 shot, 1500 damage. Okay, let's do some practice matches with red and blue versus red and blue using a bot. We're going to be using the Palpicles.gg simulator for this representation. We're going to put the bot on hard mode, of course, and let's go. The bot is going to go first, so we are going second, exactly what we want. We did get our 3-cost Kelpie Ignis, just as I was saying earlier, so I think this is a pretty solid hand. We're going to keep it. Okay, bot had no plays. Go ahead and play our Kelpie Ignis, and we're just going to go ahead and swing. All right, that is 1 shot. He plays Hangyu Chris, which is also a scenario I suspected. He's probably going to trade into my, not trade, but he's gonna take out my Kelpie Ignis. Yep, that's fine. All right, we drew Memorous Chris, which is, again, really good against the red and blue deck. So we're gonna save that for later. We're going ahead and play our Arsox and just take out the Hangyu. He just draws a card with the Sphere Launcher. plays his own Kelpsie, which he can power up with Sphere Launcher, but it still won't be enough to take out our Sox, so he's probably just going to leave it standing for some defense. That's fine. We just drew Hangyu, so we'll go ahead and use that, rest this guy, and then go in for some damage. Very nice. Hangyu. Very nice. He's down to 5. And then with the last 3 souls, we'll just use our own Sphere Launcher, draw a card. We drew Stone Pit. That's okay. He could have Blazemut, and he does have it. He could hit both of our guys with his ability and with an attack. And it looks like he will be doing that. Probably power up Kelpsie Ignis to hit our Hangyu, and then Blazemut goes for our face. That's going to work because I got nothing. Oh, got a lucky pal. He keeps Kelpsie Ignis standing. Let's play our Memorest instead. Put the pressure on. And then immediately attack his Blazemut. Hangyu just gonna go for your leader then. That's a perfect hit. Go ahead and use our last soul, play our Stone Pit on the board, and then let's see what he does. He plays Suzaku. Definitely not enough to take care of our Memorest. He's using Suzaku to take care of Hangyu because Suzaku's Vigilance is gonna stand him at the end of the turn, giving him 2 bodies of protection against Memorest, because if he lets Memorest hit directly, it might be over. He does hit my Stone Pit to make Memorest a little weaker in power. That's okay. He only has 1 defender now. He's definitely going to block my Memorest. But we do have Blazemut, so we're going to attack anyway. Have him block. He has to block it. There's no choice. And we're just going to play Blazemut, take care of Kelpsie, and then with 3 strike, attack for game. Yep. It's that easy. Nice. All right, now we're going to do a practice match with the bot using green and purple. The bot is going first again. We do have this rifle, which is a good card to have against green and purple because of Bronze Cherry. Memorest is not so good, but we do get an interrupt, so we think we're going to keep this hand. Bot has no turn 1 plays, so we'll just play our Sphere Launcher, draw a card. It's another Suzaku copy. He plays down Berry Plantation, which is good to have right now. We're just going to play our Arsox, get some materials, and then attack with it. We could take care of this plantation as well, which I think we're going to do that. We're going to do that instead. That's better. If you have the option to take care of a plantation or a Stone Pit during your tournament, it's probably better to do so because you don't want your opponent to continuously draw cards. And apparently even the bot recognizes how important it is because he interrupted my attack to keep his Stone Pit. Icthirdir is here. He's just going to trade it. Let's interrupt it by discarding a card. We'll discard Memorest since that's not going to be really a good card versus green and purple. Now we can play Suzaku. Use Suzaku to take care of this Taunter. Our Sox can go for the plantation once again. And then at the end of the turn, Suzaku is going to stand, so we have some protection there. We do have a blocker, so that was a very pointless attack. We're going to block that. There we go. Perfect. It's just that easy, I guess. All right, that wasn't really the best representation versus green and purple, but I think you guys get the picture. No matter what happens during your tournament, just remember that everyone here is here because they enjoy the Palworld OCG. So talk to people. Make some friends, ask for some advice if you're struggling with something or some tips or whatever the case. Buy some cards, trade some cards, have some fun. Otherwise, guys, if you have any questions, any extra tips you want from me, anything that you want to ask, feel free to do so in the comments, and thanks for watching.